This is part 2 of this series, where I'm going to talk about cast design, which is basically just how you're going to make your cast, basically just a few extra add-ons, which will include making the perfectly color balanced cast, and then there's also posing, and then how to understand shade and shine, and then there's also one more thing. I'll get to that. Anyways, we're going to start with how to make the perfect color balanced cast. So you're going to want to start with picking out a bunch of colors, kind of go in like a rainbow line. So for here I have a maroon, a red, an orange, a tan, a yellow, a lime green, etc. But what I do want to talk about is how it's going to vary throughout some sort of, like, the amount of members in your cast. Now, I'm specifically talking about contestants. Plus, you don't want to do two colors that are too similar. So, like, you don't want to do, like, an orange and, like, a slightly darker orange. I would also recommend not using, like, colors that are too hard to get. Because, like, a color like lavender or brown is going to be a little difficult. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't use those colors if you want and, like, have an object planned for those colors. Go ahead, use them. But as substitution, I would recommend not including lavender and then having a tan instead. And then you're going to want all three grayscale colors, depending on the amount. So, in this scenario, we got a 15-member cast. It's an alright. It's an alright amount of members to a cast. I'll say that. So, 15. Alright. The thing is, if you're gonna have, like, let's say 30 members, or even like 50, 40 members in your cast, you're obviously not gonna be able to name that many colors. So what I'd recommend is, like, kind of laying it out. Like, you're still gonna want to do different shades. Like, and another thing I'd recommend, you don't want two characters to have the same. It's really something else, but you really don't want two characters to have, like, the same eye height. Like, the same height, that's completely fine. But, like, let's say you got... Okay, let's say you got character A and character B. So, this character A, this character B. You saw these guys on the thumbnail. Okay, so what I mean is that you're gonna not want... Like, look. So that's just like a rough draft. I'll really get into posing in the same video, but for now, for the sake of simplicity, I'm just gonna do this. So if you're gonna do this, then that's like the same eye height. They're not gonna, like, I wouldn't say you'd want that. Like, normally, you wouldn't want that in my opinion. I'd always prefer, like, if they have different eye heights. Like this. I mean, now, of course, you're gonna have to, like, angle this down. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. Just ignore it. Alright, there we go. Look, see, now they're facing each other. Yeah, that's just another general tip. I want to talk about understanding shade versus shine. So we're just going to use these colors to act as materials. We're going to use cyan for glass. We're going to use tan for wood. We're going to use gray for metal. And then these are really the main three, but like if you want like a nature character, let's use green as an example. Just any object in general, you shouldn't go excessive on the shine. So, for example, so hold on. Every object will have the same exact shade. No object will have a different amount of shade unless like maybe there's like a certain part, but like really every object is gonna have the same amount of shade. Every object will have shade. But for shine, I went over this in the video, but like you're gonna want to do it less, like a less amount, like less opacitated. So something like metal, something like wood. So here's the thing, like metal, it's really known for having shine. You're gonna want it to have a more noticeable shine. Like maybe there, and like you're probably gonna want to do it on more of the object. Let's do glass. Glass about the same thing, maybe a bit more shine. Still not much of a difference though. This also goes the same for like ice or something. And then there's wood. You're not gonna do shine for like wooden objects. As like in real life, they're not really gonna have shine. And that goes the same for like a nature themed object. They're also not gonna have shine. If you're trying to do like any object in general, usually won't have shine. I'd recommend doing like research. You gotta do your research on objects. Hold on. Okay. Anyways. So that's that. Now I want to talk about posing. I'm gonna get this character here. Actually, let's use a different one. Let's use this guy. Alright. So, actually, I'm gonna use an easier character to pose. Some characters are harder to pose, depending on like height and like how skinny they are. I'll find an easier character, hold on. Alright, so we got Fridge from the last video. So you're gonna want to start by going, like, I would say about 9 to 8 pixels. This all will depend, like, on the height or, like, size of the object. Because, like, in this size, I would say 8 to 9 pixels, like, in the average size of an object. But, like, you're always going to want to do it, like, a fair amount. So, like, I would say about here. Nothing too crazy. You don't want your limbs too thick, which I see a lot of people mess up with. I messed up with it before, too. But you're also not going to want them way too skinny. I haven't seen a lot of people mess up with that. Like, you're not going to want this. You're just making a stick object. Like, what is this? Just ignore that. Alright. So, anyways. I'm also going to go over... So, you're going to want to, like, kind of bend the arm. Usually, you're not going to want the arm to be, like, perfectly straight. I mean, unless you're, like, making it still. I guess that could work. Like, if they're rising it up, you're not going to want, like, a straight rise. That's just unnatural, for lack of a better term. And you're going to want to start by, like, drawing, like, a C here. Or actually, just draw an O. Like, don't go too focused on that, because then it's going to look a little weird. Just going to draw an O. Like that. You're going to fill it in. There, you got your limb. And, like, I would recommend if you're going to, like, make them, like, brace themselves. Or just, like, hold on, like, kind of around their body. Oh, also, another tip. Always make sure that their arms are at the same level. You can see that I even messed it up on my channel banner. Like, honestly, I don't care. I still love it. Anyways, so there, I got a dot. Now I can move on from that dot, do like a little J shape. And then, like, I'm gonna draw it, like, about the same. Like, there. Then, if you're wanting to make them, like, kind of, like, seem a little teasing, or, like, kind of, just, like, laughing in general, you're gonna want to start with the line. You're gonna do the eye. You're always gonna want to do, like, an oval shape for that. You're gonna cut it off there. I'm pretty sure most people know how to do this. And, like, I wouldn't recommend doing it on both eyes. This already looks kind of weird. Like, for the eyebrow, you're just gonna, like, curve it. Maybe, like, a V shape if they're, like, going down, if they're, like, upset. Or just, like, something else. Because the mouth and the eyebrows, they really show the most emotion. Then you're also gonna want to, like, okay, there's our mouth. It's always gonna depend, but, like, I'd always recommend, like, just really go for it. If you're gonna make them smile or frown, do a D. I know I didn't do a D shape there, but, like, it's alright. Now, if you want them just showing their teeth, I wouldn't recommend going full white. Then it's just gonna look. Like, I'd recommend a bit realistic, but not too realistic. Like a slightly darker white, like a platinum color. And then you're gonna go all around, leave some outline. Now I've seen some people stop here before. No, you do not want to stop here. So now what you're gonna do, over here, you're gonna kind of like retrace the shape. And then you're gonna get your teeth look a lot better. I'm actually gonna redo that because you're gonna want to do it in like one go, maybe. I'd recommend doing it in one go. Like there, you got that. I'd say it looks pretty fine right now. No, most objects will have legs, obviously. So you're gonna do straight normally. Like, don't use the line tool for it. Don't use any of the tools. Also, when you're posing, I'd recommend using layers. I didn't do it this time, which I should have thought of, but I'd recommend using layers for assets. So, when you got your full asset ready to go, and you want to do like a little pose just to make it fun, you should go on top. You should go on layer 1. Put your asset below posing. You always gotta put the asset below posing in layers. Now, flip a clip only allows you to do 3 layers if you don't have premium, which I don't, so if you do have premium, good on you. If you don't, you're a muck, because I don't either. So, like I said, I wouldn't recommend using the line tool at all for your pose. Your character's pose, just doodle. Like, you don't need to be hyperactive with detail. I've done that before on some assets, and it didn't look good. So, I'd recommend just go for it, really. I also recommend keep the same, like, kind of like size on the brush, because then your limbs are going to look weird. If you have to change the size of your brush to like add a certain part of the limb or like of the posing, do this. Hold on it. Don't like change it. It's gonna tell you the size. So mine's 8. And then you can like shrink it down for like whatever you're trying to do. I don't know. And then hopefully you remember. If you don't, remember, I'd recommend going to like already one of your finished arms or legs. Like testing it out. So even if it's like 6, like you can already tell, that's a lot skinnier. So let's do 9. You can also tell, thicker. Let's do 7. You can tell a little thinner. Now 8. Hold on. No, 8. That's almost that's identical. And there you have it. That is how you memorize. But now let's do those legs. The feet, you're going to want to do like kind of like a D shape. You're not going to want to go all around because then it's going to look a bit off. You want to go flat on the bottom. Like this is fine. Like if it's sticking out like that, it's fine. If you really don't want it to stick out, then you can just add a bit of a brush there. But look, this looks a bit weird since like if you were to do the other like leg, the legs are off. Like they're not supposed to be way too far on the front of the object. So one leg should go by the side of that object. Whatever pose you're trying to make. Like there. There's kind of like a line going through the asset. Picture that. And then it's like all about half. You're going to want to not put it directly on the line or really too close. You're going to want it about here, like, I don't know how many pixels that is away, but like, I would say not too close, not too far. Unless your character's like a spider or something, I don't know. And there. I'd say this is a pretty good pose. And then you go. I think this is fine, but I'm a bit irritated by this. There's a difference here. There is the feet, they're like a bit odd. They're different sizes. What am I supposed to do here? Well, it's fine. You can go over like the ankle part. You're gonna extend that. And if it still looks off, you're not gonna want to do it too loudly. Like you're gonna want to do it like skim around the pixels. And there, you got it. I'd say I really like this pose. Like it's pretty good. Now you got a pose. Now, what are you gonna do with the pose? Maybe you can make it their official pose. There's no point in making official poses, but I think it's pretty fun. I like to do it a lot. Or you can just mess around with the pose. But always, and I mean always, remember to make your asset, copy and paste it, move it away. Because I have had multiple occasions where I have created a really good asset, but like I completely forget. Like I rush to posing. Then like the asset's just like messed up because I press the X before I even finish it. And then it's just like it's like ruined. So I always remember to copy and paste your asset before you start posing. It doesn't matter which one you do, just as long as you have a copy of the asset. Because if you don't and you start posing, your asset's ruined. Okay. Now, there is one more thing I want to talk about. And that is scaling. So, what do I mean by scaling? So, you want to be realistic. So, like, I would say, I'm going to grab... Hold on. I'm gonna grab this guy. Why not? Why not? Let's grab him. I mean, I did mess up on this asset a bit, but that's alright, I guess. It's a bit irritating. I wouldn't recommend doing too complex shapes if you're like, unless you're like that experienced. I still have more to learn. Like this, I clearly messed up on, but I'm already thinking of ideas on how to fix it. Anyways, when you create characters, you're not gonna like. Oh, hold on. You're not gonna want to like make them like, or even like with in your show. Like really, you want two characters, but like in the frame. I cannot stress this enough. When you do this, when you have two characters in a frame, you're always gonna want them to not be, you know, like taller. I don't know how to describe it. So here, you're not gonna want to grab a character, put it in another frame, but like, oh look, they're like too small for it. It's gonna be or like, oh, they're like too big for it. Even that. If you shrink them, and then you grab your next character, and then you shrink them again, this is just inconsistent scaling. Yes, the other character is still taller, but it's inconsistent. It's very inconsistent, and like I cannot stress this enough. So here's how you can actually like. Heard me? So here's how you can actually like, you know, fix this. You're gonna want to start by grabbing both of your assets, or all your assets, all your characters. Put them in that frame all together. Don't do any posing. Don't do any like shrinking or expanding. You're gonna put them both together, and then you're gonna, while still having them selected, or copy them into the frame like you would have. You're either gonna shrink them. Look, now it's still consistent scaling because they're shrink the same amount. So, I mean, yeah, that's all I really have for this week. I think the next, I don't remember what the next episode was, but I'm excited. I'm really excited to, you know, give more tips. I really hope this helps. Goodbye. See you next Sunday.